There's enough in your vortex to keep you thriving for 20 or 30 lifetimes. That's how dynamic it is. That's how big it is. And you want some of it. How are you going to get it? You got to tune your tuner to the frequency of what your inner being is broadcasting, which is what we're calling the receptive mode. You got to get in the receptive mode. You've got to think like your inner being thinks in order to be in that receptive mode. You can't be blaming your husband. You can't be blaming the economy. You can't be blaming government. You can't be blaming an employer. You can't be focused on the absence of what you want and tune your tuner to what your inner being is broadcasting. And your inner being is not going to change its broadcast to match yours ever. Your inner being is going to stand in your prosperity. You got to find a way to be there too. So let's talk about you being in the receptive mode. So the receptive mode means you've got your tuner set for something. And if you're walking around in this world like most people, what you're observing is what's causing you to set your tuner. Complaints from your partner, different things that are happening in your life.
Bills.
Esther set her tuner from a telephone call she received just for a moment until she realized she'd done it, and then she said, uh-oh, gotta go. And then she did something about setting her tuner differently. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah.
In other words, if you're aware when you're doing it. Now, money's the hardest thing, really, because that's the thing that you've been worried about the most for the longest. And that's the thing that you've activated a bunch of vibrations about, usually, that you're not going to change overnight, but you can change them, and you must. If you want the prosperity that is due to you, you've got to cash in that vibrational currency. And the way you cash in your vibrational currency is by finding a way to line up with it, which means right here, right now, you've got to make the decision. Not right here, right now. We don't mean this is the only now. There's going to be another and another and another and another and another and another and another. But sooner or later, one of these nows that you're standing in the middle of, you've got to be willing to give up your arguing for your limitations. Because every time you say, I can't, or I haven't, or it's hard, or nobody that I know is doing it, then you're just practicing setting your receptive mode to something else. So if your receptive mode is not set to this frequency, what's it set to? This one? Mm-hmm. This one, this one, this one, this one. There's plenty of frequencies, just like on your radio stations and your vehicles. There's lots of different frequencies. It's endless. That dial is long and endless. You can set it to anything along the way. So how do you know where you've set it? How do you know where you've set your tuner? Two ways: how you feel and what's happening. And both are good ways to know. So if prosperity isn't flowing in incredible abundance to you, knowing what's in your vortex as we do, you got your tuner set in a screwy way. Mm-hmm. And the reason that you do, it's usually for a couple of reasons. One is the habit of just observing what is. What is compelling. We know that it is. Bills are compelling. When they come, they get your attention. We know that what you're observing is compelling. The other reason that you often set your tuner differently than we would like you to is because you still don't believe in the vortex. You don't believe in the vortex reality in the same way that you believe in the bank account reality. The bank account reality is just more obvious. Everybody, including your banker, your credit card holders, they all believe in your current reality. Your credit score believes in your current reality. In other words, there's so much to observe that believes in your current reality. And your current reality does not mean diddly squat. Because as you said to us, and we're going to hold you to it, that is what's temporary. That's what's temporary. That changes. But the thing is, when you're talking like you've been talking here today, and it's all right, it's pretty normal, it changes to the same thing over and over and over again. Different faces, different places. It just keeps changing to the same, not letting in your prosperity. But it's changing. It's dynamic. And with just a little bit of attention to stay in your lane, just a little bit of attention, things will change. We wrote a game for Ester and others many, many years ago that shifted their vibrational point of attraction about money dramatically. We said to each of them, find a way to get $100. You can do that. And put it in your pocket and walk around with it in your pocket and notice all day, every day, what you could spend it on if you really wanted to.
Oh, I read that.
Don't spend it. Just walk around with it in your pocket. I could have that. I could have one of those shoes. I could have that. I could have that. I could have that. Spend it all day long. I could have that. Ooh, 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 ooh. I could have that. I could have that. Because as you vibrationally spend that all day long, you get into this mode of feeling about your prosperity differently. And before you know it, money is flowing into your experience. You've got to find a way to look at money differently. Then we said, get a columnar pad, spread it out, and put your biggest debt over here. What is your biggest debt? Usually a house payment?
School loans.
It's all right. Rather than your biggest debt, let us ask you in terms of your biggest monthly expenditure. What's the biggest one?
My rent.
Housing. So put whatever that is in that left-hand column. Then what's next? Car?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's next?
Utility, probably the light bill.
So stretch them out across there. How many columns do you think there are? House, or vehicles?
Probably about 10.
Utilities,
Yeah.
so forth. And on there somewhere are school loans. But so spread it all out from the largest to the smallest. And then look at it and say to yourself, these are my commitments. These are my intentions. This is my responsibility, is not a bad word. It is my plan to do my best to take care of all of these. So just kind of sit with that a little bit. And then say to yourself, and this one that's way over here on the end, what is it?
School loans.
What's the one right before that?
Light bill.
And what's the one right before that?
Car.
So you're doing all right. So the one that is the smallest monthly outgo, say to yourself, I'm not only going to pay what I have agreed to, I'm going to pay that one double. What is that payment?
Probably $100.
And there's nothing that you pay that's less than $100 each month?
No. Not, well, yeah, like gym membership, stuff like that, but yeah, no.
I'm going to pay that twice every month. I'm going to pay it twice. Now what happens to you is it shifts the way you're looking at it, because now instead of just keeping up, you're actually doing twice as well as you said you would. That shifts something in you.
Mm-hmm.
So what begins to happen is that before long, the reason that we were fudging a little bit on that one is because that one is a large one, and it's going to take a while for it to go away. Your gym membership is something that is ongoing. It's a sort of pay as you go.
Right.
But if there's something like a credit card
Right.
that's $30 or $40 or $50 a month, and you pay it twice, in time, and usually in a much shorter time than you realize, it is going to go away. And little by little by little by little, these columns shrink up. And so what happens is you begin to develop for yourself at the same time as directly following your adjustment in the way you feel vibrationally. What begins to happen is your discretionary income becomes much, much more. Mm-hmm. Now your discretionary income becomes much, much more for a different reason than you think. Many think, as we play this game, that it's just a game of paying that off so you've got more money, and paying that off so you've got more money, and right away you think, oh, that's going to take way too long. But what happens long before you've paid that one off, or that one off, or that one off, or that one off, because of the shift in the way you feel about what you're putting out. Because instead of resenting it, you're playing a game. Instead of being behind, you feel ahead. In other words, your vibration shifts, and more money starts coming in from everywhere.
Right.
Money comes in from everywhere. Money you didn't even know you had coming to you comes. People find mistakes that they've been making. People give you money that you didn't even know was coming. Things begin to happen. Because in that now new discovery of a new receptive mode, the ideas begin to flow to you too. You start turning thoughts into more money. It's law.